One of racing's hottest prospects for the year 1996 was a young USAC superstar by the name of Tony Stewart, who was coming off an impressive 1995 in which he became the very first man to hold the USAC Midget Sprint and Silver Crown Championships all in the same year. 1996 would be the start of a 20-year big league racing career for Stewart, which would become a fascinating story of ups and downs and triumphs and tragedies. But the events concerning Tony Stewart in the year 1996 would set the stage for a legendary career. Buddy Lazier and Roberto Guerrero lead the field. Stewart starts 7th. Lazier gets a jump on the field, and the first Indy Racing League race is on. As Lazier sets the early pace in his Ford-powered Reynard, Stewart has worked his way up to 3rd, navigating traffic like a veteran. Suddenly, Richie Hearn spins off of turn 1 and goes into the inside guardrail, bringing out the yellow and bunching up the field. This allows Tony Stewart to pounce. On the restart, Stewart sweeps around the outside of 1990 Indy 500 winner Arie Luyendyk for 2nd, and then proceeds to blow the doors off leader Lazier. In his very first IndyCar race, Stewart is looking unbeatable. At least he was, until a wild Buzz Calkins appeared and stole the lead from Stewart. Stewart was instructed to conserve his fragile and thirsty Menard power plant, while Calkins had worked his way up through the field, being able to run flat out with his reliable Ford Cosworth. While the extra power produced by Stewart's Menard V6 engine was a benefit to him at the beginning of the race, fuel economy became an issue. Stewart had to pit much earlier than Calkins with his V8 Ford. This allowed Calkins to stretch his lead, and forced Stewart to push hard and take chances to stay on the lead lap. And while Stewart's heavy right foot kept him in the race, it only made his fuel mileage worse, and Calkins continued to stretch his lead. Stewart continued to drive at 10/10ths, but desperately needed a break, and he got it. His teammate Eddie Cheever and Scott Sharp tangle in turn 1 with 11 laps to go. But the blessing almost becomes a curse as a safety vehicle pulls out in front of Tony. Miraculously, Stewart escapes the brush with the wall unscathed, and lines up behind Calkins for a 7-lap Saturday night shootout. On the restart, Stewart tries but fails to make a pass around the outside of Calkins in turn 1. He gets another run at turn 2, nothing doing. Calkins is driving the race of his life. Despite having some 200 horsepower over Calkins, Stewart could not close the gap. And over the last 5 laps, Calkins gradually built up his lead, and would take the checkered flag, becoming the IRL's inaugural race winner at Walt Disney World Speedway. Tony would be 2nd.
But after hitting the wall on the last yellow when the wrecker came out in front of me, I was surprised we even finished. But I can't thank Team Menard and Glidden enough. These guys did a wonderful job. I mean, to make a car this comfortable for a guy that's a rookie, they've done their homework and they have one hell of a race team. I mean, they did a great job.
Some 2 months after the Walt Disney World race, the Indy Racing League would roll into Phoenix, Arizona for their 2nd race at the historic Phoenix International Raceway. Tony Stewart would be looking to prove that his 2nd place at Walt Disney World was no fluke.
Now, where was Tony Stewart 1 year ago this weekend? In his garage just outside of Indianapolis, preparing his USAC sprint car for Eldora, Ohio.
Unknown to Stewart at the time, of course, he would one day own Eldora Speedway. So a field of 22 Indy cars would line up behind pole sitter Arie Luyendyk. Tony Stewart would start on the outside of the 2nd row. Luyendyk gets a great jump on the start and pulls away. But very shortly, the first yellow is brought out by Walt Disney World winner Buzz Calkins as he spins off of turn number 2. Just like at Walt Disney World, Stewart takes advantage of the bunched up field and passes leader Arie Luyendyk, proving to everybody that he is the real deal. And just like at Disney World, Stewart begins to pull away. Michel Jourdain crashes heavily in turn number 3, and under the yellow, Fermin Velez nails Roberto Guerrero. An embarrassing moment, and Guerrero was none too pleased. Taking full advantage of the chaos out on track, Stewart pits the thirsty Menard-powered Lola, but the crew struggles with their air guns, costing Stewart valuable time in the pits. On the subject of changing tires, Team Menard had switched from Goodyear to Firestone tires for this race. Back out on track, the sloppiness continued. Leader Richie Hearn spins under yellow, coming to take the restart in turn 4. Once the race finally got going again, Stewart goes on a tear, passing cars left, right, and center, finally catching up to the back of Lyondike. But before he can pass Ari, his teammate Scott Brayton backs heavily into the wall and brings out the yellow. And the pit lane woes for the Menard team continue as Stewart stalls the car in the pits under yellow, losing all the time he had made up on track, and forcing Stewart to charge through the field a second time, including a daring pass around both of AJ Foyt's drivers, Scott Sharp and Mike Groff. Finally, in the traffic, Stewart catches and passes Lyondike around the outside at turn 1, only to have his right front Firestone give out, forcing him to pit. The unscheduled green flag pit stop puts Stewart back 2 laps and forces him to play catch-up a third time, which miraculously he's able to do, moving past Mike Groff for third and setting his sights on Lyondike. But then more problems befall Stewart, and this time the racing gods are not kind. Electrical issues end Stewart's amazing drive on the 165th lap. Unchallenged, Ari Lyondike takes victory at Phoenix, giving the dominant Reynard-Ford Firestone combination its second win on the year. As the month of May dawned, the competitors for the 80th running of the Indianapolis 500 were greeted with a brand new track surface. The increased grip from the new asphalt would set the stage for the fastest month of May in the history of the Indianapolis 500. When the track opened for practice, Tony Stewart set the early mark to beat, with an unofficial track record of 237 miles per hour, some 5 miles per hour faster than the official mark. But Stewart's moment in the sun was short-lived, as Ari Lyondike also turned a 237-mile-an-hour lap, and then followed it up with laps over 238 and 239 miles per hour, leading some to wonder if the magic 240-mile-an-hour barrier would be broken in qualifying. Davy Jones would be the first to officially break the track record in qualifying with an official 4-lap average of 232 miles an hour in his Lola Mercedes. Stewart would then take the pole away from Jones, raising the track record to 233.1 miles per hour. But late in the day, it would be Lyondike who would snatch the pole away from Stewart, with a 1-lap track record at 234 miles an hour and a 4-lap average good enough for the pole at 233.3 miles per hour. But Team Menard would not be denied the pole position. In a move that at the time was unprecedented at Indianapolis, the Menard team pulled Stewart's teammate Scott Brayton out of an already qualified position in the second row to attempt a banzai all-or-nothing run for the pole. The gamble would pay off, and Brayton would take the pole position and the 4-lap track record at 233.7 miles per hour. It was Brayton and Team Menard's second pole position at the Indianapolis 500 in a row, but the pole day drama was far from over. USAC officials deemed that Lyondike's car was underweight during its qualifying attempt, so his run was disallowed, promoting Stewart to second place on the grid. Lyondike would get his revenge in second day qualifying. With each of his 4 laps over 236 miles per hour, Lyondike smashed Brayton's records from the previous day, establishing a new 1-lap record of 237.498 miles per hour and a 4-lap average of 236.986 miles per hour. As of the time of recording, these records still stand at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Despite the record run, Lyondike would have to roll off the grid in 20th position. It was all smiles at Team Menard. Big checks and the glamour of having 2 cars on the front row left the team in great spirits heading into the Indianapolis 500. But the great spirits would be sullied as tragedy would strike. having unknowingly run over debris on the main straightaway while testing a backup car 1 week before the race. A deflating right rear tire caused Scott Brayton to lose control entering turn number 2. The impact killed him instantly, and the Indianapolis 500 was without its pole sitter. Brayton was 37. Race day at Indianapolis.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.